Hello my friends and welcome back to another video. Today we are doing an unhaul. I decided that for the beginning of 2023 I wanted to be really serious and unhaul a ton of books. One, because why am I holding on to books that I don't really love? And two, I'm running out of room. Like, my bookshelves are packed and I hate having just random piles of books all over my room. So yeah, I decided to get really serious about it. I have 44 books here today to unhaul, and there were a few that I didn't put in this unhaul that I think will probably make it into a later unhaul if I think about it and decide not to keep them, or books that I haven't reached for yet that I contemplated putting into this unhaul. But there are 44 books here. I'm gonna try to do this as fast as possible because I really don't want to blab about these books too much, and I feel like it's gonna take me forever if I spend so many minutes on each book because there's 44 of them. So I'm gonna try to be quick. Most of the books here have the star rating of a 3.5 or below. I was trying to keep everything like 4 and up, like the ones that I really like. So basically I'm just gonna show you the books I'm getting rid of, give you a brief summary on why I'm getting rid of them, and hopefully do this as quick as possible. So let's get into it. First up is The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. I actually really did enjoy this book for the most part. The second half of the book gets really like confusing because this is a folk horror that I feel like I didn't quite know what was happening. I did enjoy the writing and I did enjoy like the beginning part of the story, but the second half was really confusing and I just don't think I even know what happened in the end. So I'm just gonna unhaul it. Next up is Below by Laurel Hightower. I wanted to keep this because it is a Mothman horror story, but I didn't love this. I loved the first half of it, and this is really short, so I loved only a little bit about it, and then the second half of it was like really fever dream-like, and it just kind of ruined the whole story for me a little bit. So I don't really know why I would hold on to this except because it's a Mothman story and that's about it. So I'm going to get rid of it. This next one I feel like people are going to be upset about, but I'm going to get rid of The Island by Adrian McKinty. I feel like I was one of the few people that didn't love this thriller. I thought it was okay. I feel like it didn't really do much for me in terms of like what it was supposed to be. I really hated the characters for the majority of the story, and I wasn't really rooting for them until the very end, and so it wasn't like the best book I've ever read, so I'm just gonna unhaul it. The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. This was in my most disappointing books of 2022. I didn't really love this as much as I did The Winter People. I found it really predictable and just not as good as The Winter People. It wasn't on the same level, and so I was just kind of overall disappointed by it, and I don't know why I would keep it. I probably won't ever reread it, and I don't know why I would keep it. This is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is a romance, and I wanted to love this one, but I really had no connection to the two women. I couldn't really like get invested in their romance, in their love. It felt like the love was one-sided a lot of the time in the story, and so when they did get together it was kind of like weird for me. I just didn't love this as much as I wanted to, or as much as I did Red, White, and Royal Blue, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Speaking of romance I didn't really like, next up is My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I wanted this to be like a fun murder mystery romance, but I just found the male love interest to be kind of cringy, and there was not enough murder mystery for me. It was just like a really weird story. I just didn't care for it. It didn't feel like a romance that I personally liked, so I just don't feel the need to keep it. Old Country by Matt Query and Harrison Query. Again, this was one of my most disappointing reads of 2022. I felt like the idea was there, but the execution was not. The characters were really like one note. I didn't really like them. I only cared about the dog. Again, the concept was good, but it's too long. I felt like it needed to be a novella, so I don't know why I want to hold on to it when I don't really care for it. This one is hard for me, but just like Home by Sarah Gailey, this was also a disappointing read for me. I liked almost everything about this book, but the ending really ruined it, and I felt like the author tried to do too many tropes, and by the end of the book, they didn't all tie in together and it didn't really all come full circle, so it was just really disappointing. I hate getting rid of this one because I do love a lot of it, but it wasn't a favorite. I just don't feel like I should hang on to it. 2 Riley Sagers I have, Home Before Dark and The Last Time I Lied. Home Before Dark is probably my least favorite Riley Sager. I didn't really like it, thought it was super predictable, and I guess the twist, it just feels like a mixture of The Haunting of Hill House and Amityville, and it didn't really feel new or innovative to me, so I was really disappointed with this one. The Last Time I Lied, I thought I liked it a lot more than I did, but it really just wasn't that good in my opinion, and the ending ruined everything for me. I don't want to hang on to these two, even if they are Riley Sager and I'm trying to have his whole collection. I just don't like these enough to keep them, so I'm getting rid of them. Next up is Thin Air by Michelle Paver. This was just really boring. I didn't really enjoy any of it. It was just really slow. I just didn't care. It was supposed to be like a fun, snowy, isolated setting climbing story. I just didn't really like it, so I don't want to keep it. At the Edge of the Woods by Matsatsugu Ono. Yeah, I didn't like this. I thought it was gonna be like My Neighbor Totoro meets horror, but it just has like a weird like fairy tale thing that I just didn't really vibe with. It had a lot of weird fat phobic comments in it. I just didn't really enjoy it. I think the timeline of it is really confusing and I couldn't really follow along, so it's just not my kind of horror and I'm going to get rid of it. A fan favorite author, Off Season by Jack Ketchum. I found this really, really, really boring, and the first half of the book is just not a lot happening, and when the second half finally picks up, it was just okay. It didn't really feel that like mind-blowing to me or that like amazing or special. This is my second Jack Ketchum book and I just don't think this author is for me, so I am going to find this book a new home. Benny Rose, The Cannibal King by Haley Piper. This was just okay for me. I felt like the writing was a little bit jumpy, a little bit chaotic. It just wasn't anything like super mind-blowing or special in my opinion. Kind of like with Off Season, they were just kind of average, so I'm just not gonna keep this one either. I wrestled with this one a lot because I did think about keeping it and trying again, but I did DNF this book and I made it halfway through the book. I just don't think I'm going to try again with it, and that is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I want to love Stephen Graham Jones so much, but his writing is so hard for my brain to comprehend. Like, his writing makes me feel so confused, and like I just don't understand what's happening in his stories 90% of the time. I think he's an intelligent writer and I think that's what it is. I think I'm not thinking on his level and so none of it makes sense, so I'm just kind of like, huh? I don't know what's happening. So I did want to try again, but I did get halfway through, so I just don't think it's realistic for me to hang on to this. Audition by Ryu Murakami. This was fine. I gave it like a 3.5. I much prefer the movie to this book. I know that's like an unpopular opinion, but I think the movie's way better. I feel like the book is kind of weird and there's some like weird like sex scenes in here that I just thought was bizarre, and the ending had a dog scene that I also didn't really like, and so I just can't see myself reading this again. But the movie's great. Another book that I was trying to keep based on the cover, and that is Hide by Kirsten White. This was a disappointing book of 2022 for me, and I think the cover and the inside of the book are absolutely stunning. I love it. But I'm trying to be better about that, and I didn't care for the book that much. I mean, it was a 3-star. It was fine. But, I mean, I don't need it. I don't need it. Next up is the Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. So I really liked the first half of this romance. It has a fake dating, fake marriage kind of thing, and I really liked it. But then the second half takes a really weird turn, and I really hated the male love interest after the second half, and the second half just felt, I didn't like it one bit. I thought it was so stupid, and it ruined the book for me. So yeah, I just didn't really care for this romance that much. Another disappointing read of 2022, The Witch in the Well by Camilla Bruce. I want to keep this for the cover. The cover is absolutely so beautiful, but the book was mismarketed, and it's not what it says it is. It's like just drama between two women and how much they hate each other, and it was such a boring read, and I was so mad that it wasn't what I wanted it to be, but I have to get rid of it. I have to. I can't keep it for the cover. It's ridiculous. I have to get rid of it. I want to keep it, but I'm going to get rid of it. Another disappointing read of 2022, Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. This is not what it says it is. It is not a ghost story. It's not my kind of horror. I didn't get the humor in it. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. And so I'm not going to keep it, even though the cover is beautiful and I love it a lot, but it's not my kind of horror, it's not my kind of book, and I didn't like it, so gotta get rid of it. Next, Clown in a Cornfield 2, Friendo Lives by Adam Caesar. I did not like this. It was such an unnecessary sequel, and I did not think it was as good as the first one, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Just Like Mother by Anne Heltzel. This was in my worst books of 2022. I did not like a thing about this book. I really do not like it, so I don't want it anywhere near my shelves. Next, Anybody Home by Michael J. Seidlinger. This was a good idea in theory. I liked the home invasion aspect. I liked the unique take on a home invasion, but it just didn't work for me. I found it really boring and just really slow and not really exciting to read. I didn't really care for any of it, and the writing style, while really cool and different, I would have just liked a regular home invasion, to be honest. So I'm going to send this off to another place, so hopefully someone can enjoy this book. The Trick-or-Treater and Other Stories by Brianna Morgan. I thought this was going to be a Halloween short story collection. In reality, one story is about Halloween and the others aren't. It was just an okay short story collection for me, so I just don't feel the need to keep it. Another one of the worst books I read in 2022 was In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This did not work for me. I found it super boring. It was not worth it. I should have DNF'd it. I don't care. I don't care about anything in this book. I just need this to move on to someone else. Next up is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I found this okay. It was kind of boring. I thought the twist was really dumb, and I just didn't really care. The setting and the atmosphere was pretty good, but it just wasn't my favorite kind of thriller, and so I don't really want to keep it in my collection. The Fungus by Harry Adam Knight. I haven't read this. I believe it's about a killer fungus? I think it's about a killer fungus. I don't know. It doesn't really sound like anything I would read, so I don't really know why I have it. I'm just gonna unhaul it. I don't think I'll ever pick it up. The Forgotten Island by David Sodergren. I don't really care for this story. It felt like really predictable and like a bunch of horror movies that I've seen. It just felt like reading a B movie, and I just didn't really care for it. So we have a Ronald Malfi in this unhaul, and that is Little Girls. I thought this was really predictable and just kind of like your average ghost story. I didn't feel like it did anything like really revolutionary or fun or different. Yeah, it was just easy to predict, and it was a little too long for me. It was just okay. The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. I was really disappointed by this one. It sounded good, and I liked some parts of this, but it's not the best way I've ever read in horror, and the ending, it just felt a little flat for me, so I don't want to keep it in my collection. This is Bad Man by Dathan Auerbach. I picked this one up after I read Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach because I absolutely loved Pen Pal, and this one was not as good in my opinion. I did not like this one as much as Pen Pal. I just felt like the story was kind of meh. It was just kind of average, very long. So yeah, I don't really want to keep it. Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I actually did really enjoy this book. It wasn't perfect, and the second half of the book really ruined the first half that I really enjoyed. So I didn't love it quite as much by the end as I did in the beginning. I gave it like a 3.5. This is also kind of like an infection quarantine story, which is not my favorite, so I'm just gonna find it somewhere else to live. Eileen by Otessa Moshfegh. This is not what I expected it to be. It's a very bizarre story. I still don't know if Otessa Moshfegh is for me. I have Lapvona still to read, and I think after Lapvona I'm probably going to determine if I'm an Otessa Moshfegh fan or not, because I feel like this just wasn't my kind of story, my kind of writing, so unfortunately, I am going to get rid of this one because it was just alright. I do love the cover though. The cover is great. This is a classic, and that is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I'm not a fan. I think it's super boring, nothing happens, and I don't really get it. It's not really fun for me. It's not my kind of story. It's not something I enjoy. I definitely prefer We Have Always Lived in the Castle, which I am keeping, so I'm just gonna get rid of this one. The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I wanted to love this because it's like a wintry, isolated setting thriller, but I also found it very predictable. I thought it was kind of lame once everything had been revealed, and I just didn't really care for it that much, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Goblin by Josh Mallerman. I have been keeping this for years because I like the cover. I gave this story collection 2.5 stars because it was just not for me. I found these stories to be really like boring and not really my kind of horror stories. So I've really just been keeping it for the cover, but I'm trying to be better about that, so I'm getting rid of it. The Ritual by Adam Neville. I didn't really like this. Again, it's like more of a folk horror story. Folk horror is very hard for me. It's very hit or miss, and I really like the first half of this book, but the second half takes like a weird direction that I don't really care for, and I just thought the overall story was kind of like meh, just like okay. I like No One Gets Out Alive much better, so I'm just going to unhaul this one. This one might make people upset, but Bunny by Mona Awad. I gave this 4 stars. Looking back on it, I would give it 3. I didn't really like this. I thought it was really confusing and weird and fever dream-like, and I know a lot of people liked it, but the more I think about it, the more I realize I didn't really like it. So, yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of it. I don't want to keep it. I will never reread this book. I don't want to ever experience it again, so I'm just gonna not even hold on to it. Another David Sodergren. This is Night Shoot. This is more of a slasher compared to the other one. I did enjoy this one for the most part. I did think the ending was really annoying, and I just don't think I like David Sodergren's writing. It just doesn't really work for me personally, so I'm just not gonna hang on to this. This is Let the Right One In. I know what you're thinking. Don't worry, this is my ugly copy. This is the movie cover version, which I hate. I have a prettier version on my shelves. I do love this book, so I'm not getting rid of it, I promise. I just don't want this cover because it's really ugly, and I don't need 2 copies when I have a really pretty one on my shelves, so I'm just getting rid of this one. And next up is The Seance in Apartment 10 by Ambrose Ibsen. This one was fun. It was good. It was a good time. It wasn't anything spectacular or mind-blowing or, you know, it didn't blow me out of the water, but it was a good time. I liked it. I gave it 3.5, but I probably wouldn't reach for this ever again, and I do like other haunted house stories more, so I'm just gonna part with this one. The First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker. I know everyone really loved this one. It just didn't really work for me. I found it really boring and super predictable, and by the time it was over I was like, that was fine. It was okay. It was whatever. It was just fine. So I don't feel like I should keep it when I didn't really love it, but you know, I do know a lot of people like this one. Second to last, we have The Night Shift by Alex Finley. This was really disappointing because it's supposed to be like this 90s vibes thriller, serial killer, slasher thing. The 90s vibes were not really there. Everyone who said that, I should not have believed you, because the 90s vibes were not really there, okay? And I was really sad about it. It could have been amped up a lot more. The plot twist, I guessed it really early on. I knew who it was, which was really upsetting to me, because when it's that easy, that's not a good thing. That's really not a good thing. So I was just disappointed by this one. It's not a memorable thriller for me, and I don't care to keep it. Next and last is Sundial by Catriona Ward. I did not like this as much as The Last House on Needless Street. I would keep it for the cover because it is stunning, but I'm trying not to do that because I need space for other books that I love. The little like book parts I didn't care for at all. I thought the twist was very anticlimactic. I didn't care for the animal cruelty, and unfortunately this plot is really based in the animal cruelty, so I didn't really care for that. I get what the point was, but it just didn't really work for me. This was a big letdown compared to The Last House on Needless Street, so I am just going to remove this from my shelves. Whew. Okay, those are the 44 books I am unhauling, removing from my shelves, from everything, so I can make room for books I actually like and for new books and all that kind of thing. I'm really proud of myself for actually unhauling these and for being really kind of strong and not, you know, trying to let them slide or, you know, trying to talk myself out of getting rid of some of them. I'm really proud of myself because this is probably the biggest unhaul I've done to date. So this is big for me, okay? I really think you should be really happy about how strong I'm being. I think I'm doing really good. I'm trying to be better about this in 2023, you know. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you want to see more unhauls in the future, because I will be doing more, because this is me turning over a new leaf. If you want to see more, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know that you enjoy this. That way I can keep providing you with unhauls in the future. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to my channel. We can become friends, talk about books, horrifying books, thrilling books, romance books, manga, all that good fun stuff. And with that being said, I hope you're having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!